Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be reading another book by the same author that wrote The Gruffalo. If you read with me yesterday, we read this book by Julia Donaldson and Alex Scheffler. Another book by the same author that I recently discovered is this one. It's called The Snail and the Whale, and I think it's pretty cute. So, The Snail and the Whale. And actually, it shows us a couple other books by the same author. This is the tale of a tiny snail and a great big gray-blue humpback whale. This is the rock as black as soot, and this is the snail with an itchy foot. The sea snail slithered all over the rock and gazed at the sea and the ships in the dock. And as she gazed, she sniffed and sighed. The sea is deep and the world is wide. How I long to sail, said the tiny snail. These are the other snails in the flock, who all stuck tight to the smooth black rock and said to the snail with the itchy foot, "Be quiet, don't wiggle, sit still, stay put." But the tiny sea snail sniffed and sighed, then cried, "I've got it. I'll hitch a ride." This is the trail of the tiny snail, a slivery trail that looped and curled and said, "Ride wanted around the world." This is the whale who came one night when the tide was high and the stars were bright, a humpback whale, immensely long, who sang to the snail a wonderful song of shimmering ice and coral caves and shooting stars and enormous waves. And this is the tale of the humpback whale. He held it out of the starlit sea and he said to the snail, "Come sail with me." Just to point out, this word tail, T-A-I-L, is the tail of the whale. At the beginning it said the tale and it was T-A-L-E, meaning the story. This is the sea so wild and free that carried the whale and the snail on his tail to towering icebergs and far-off lands. With fiery mountains and golden sands. Oh, that's pretty beautiful. These are the waves that arched and crashed, that foamed and frolicked and sprayed and splashed the tiny snail on the tail of the whale. These are the caves beneath the waves where the colorful fish with the feathery fins and the sharks with hideous toothy grins swam past the whale and the snail on his tail. They're smiling kind of evil smiles. This is the sky, so vast and high, sometimes sunny and blue and warm, sometimes filled with a thunderstorm, with the zigzag lightning flashing and frightening the tiny snail on the tail of the whale. And she gazed at the sky, the sea, the land, the waves, the caves, and the golden sand. She gazed and gazed, amazed by it all, and she said to the whale, "I feel so small." But then came the day the whale lost his way. These are the speedboats running a race, zigging and zooming all over the place, upsetting the whale with their ear-splitting roar, making him swim too close to the shore. This is the tide slipping away. When that happens to a whale, it's called a beached whale. He's stuck, he can't get out, and if he doesn't get out to sea, he'll die. And this is the whale lying beached in a bay. "Quick, off the sand! Back to the sea," cried the snail. "I can't move on land, I'm too big," moaned the whale. The snail felt helpless and terribly small. Then, "I've got it," she cried, and she started to crawl. "I must not fail," said the tiny snail. So you should be trying to predict what this little snail can do for a beached whale. How could she possibly help? One teeny tiny little snail. This is the bell on the school in the bay, ringing in the children from their play. This is the teacher holding her chalk, telling the class, sit straight, don't talk. This is the board, as black as soot. And this is the snail with the itchy foot. A snail, a snail. The teacher turns pale. Look, say the children, it's leaving a trail. This is the trail of the tiny snail, a silvery trail saying, save the whale. These are the children running from school, fetching the firemen, digging a pool, squirting and spraying to keep the whale cool. This book kind of reminds me of Charlotte's Web and the spider that saves the pig, Wilbur, by riding in her web. This is the tide coming into the bay, and these are the villagers shouting, hooray, as the whale and the snail travel safely away. Back to the dock and the flock on the rock, who said, how time's flown, and haven't you grown? And the whale and the snail told their wonderful tale, T-A-L-E, tale, of shimmering ice and coral caves and shooting stars and enormous waves, and of how the snail, so small and frail, with her looping and curling silvery tail, saved the life of the humpback whale. Then the humpback whale held out his tail, and on crawled the snail, after snail, after snail. She inspired all of them to go check out the world. And they sang to the sea as they all set sail on the tail of the gray-blue humpback whale. This book has some amazing illustrations, and I love the words too. But what a beautiful book. Have a good afternoon, guys.